Welcome back to the Inviting Shift podcast. I'm so glad that you decided to join us again this week. This is an exciting conversation. When we talk about manifesting and manifestation, I used to think it was all about sitting around and waiting for that stuff to drop, and it just didn't make sense to me. But today we have a guest on who has manifested herself a castle. That's right, Mandy Nicholson is here to tell us how she manifested a castle. You heard that right. And Mandy is a creative genius and a consultant, artist, author. She really helps people with their businesses in those creative areas where, we've been told you can't make money. So I'm so excited to have Mandy with us today so that you can hear this exciting story. Well, welcome Mandy Nicholson to the Inviting Shift podcast. Thanks for being here and sharing with us today.
That's my pleasure. It's a joy to be here.
Yes. And as you can tell, Mandy's got a little bit of an accent. So she's from across the pond. And she's going to tell us how she has manifested her dream business or even her dream castle. Of course, she's just telling me it didn't start with a castle. Of course it didn't. It never does. But it's always nice when it ends with one, doesn't it? Isn't it? So Mandy, tell us a little bit more about your journey and what it is that you do today.
Okay, so I am currently a creative genius consultant and an artist and an author and a creative retreat owner here in Scotland. And I help creative women to launch, grow and scale their businesses. But no, it wasn't always like that. I did what a lot of creatives do, and I went to art college and got my degree, but then couldn't find a job in the creative space. And so I got a proper job. As many creatives do, I got a proper job, and I ended up on the hamster wheel of life in that proper job with this creative void inside of me. And the pull gets stronger as you get older. That's all I'm going to say. And it kind of took me losing everything to realize that I could take the power back. And that's really where I started to manifest the life I really wanted once I'd actually lost everything. That was in 2009. And I had a series. It's like the universe pressed the reset button and made everything you could imagine that was bad happen to me in the space of a year. And I ended up from a 6-figure career at rock bottom. And my rock bottom was living in social housing with no money as a single mum with 2 kids and 2 dogs, and a life that I ended up in that I didn't really want. And I didn't really know where to go from there at the start. That's why it said it didn't start with a castle. It never does.
Sure didn't.
No.
No. It started. A good story never does.
No. And I think you've got to be, when you're telling your story, you've got to be honest about that. That's where it was. I ended up at rock bottom. And it's at that point, isn't it, that we make decisions of, I'm not going to stay here. And I need to figure the way out and envision where I want to go. And that's really where it started for me. I really started getting into The Secret and manifesting and how powerful that was. Reading books and educating myself. Because it's important to educate yourself on these things. And, I think I started like most people, writing Post-it notes and sticking them on the back of the loo door and thinking that was all I needed to do to make it work.
And just keep repeating those affirmations to you. Yeah. I am financially free. I am financially free.
But I kind of think...
It didn't quite work that way, though, did it?
No, nobody tells you, actually. There's more to it than that. There's much more to it than that. And it really hit me when I was on a walk with my kids, and we were in our council house. We were walking by the sea, and my daughter said to me, "Mum, how much would a house like that cost?" And she pointed to this beautiful big house. And I said, "A lot more money than we've got. I would think about £300,000, Becca." And she said, "Well, can we live in a house like that one day?" And I said, "Let's go home and draw it." And the kids drew a picture of the house they wanted to live in. And it became my very first vision board, this house. And I started coming up with the ways of getting me out of this life and to this house. And that was in 2010. And that stayed on every vision board that I started to create. And my vision boards got a lot more complex, I suppose, as we progressed and as I started to build businesses. So I built several different businesses, very successful. A cleaning business. I went into a cleaning business. I'm this creative, and I started a cleaning business because it was easy and I could make money from it. And it was successful. Sure. I built it up. I hired staff, and then I sold it and went into a different business, a financial business, and then a wills and estate planning business, always avoiding my creativity, because people tell you that you're not going to make any money from creativity. Nice hobby, but you're not going to make any money from it. It's woven through society.
Starving artist.
Yep.
Starving artist is a cliche for a reason, right?
And it's a myth, but it's a myth that's so solidly woven into our belief system that most of the creatives I've met then and since still believe that they're only going to have this little hobby on the side, that it's never really going to make them millions, or it's never going to make them wealthy. And I believed that too. And that was ridiculous when I look back, because it's just another business model, the same as the ones I was working on. So that's where the castle came from. I got to 2019 and I had rebuilt my life from all these other businesses enough so that I could buy that exact house that was drawn by my kids in 2010. And we didn't just buy a house like it. We bought a house with a blue door and a blue garage and a big garden and 4 bedrooms, exactly like they'd drawn on that vision board. And I bought it for cash, and it was £350,000. So that was the first time I realized that manifestation can happen, but there's a time lag sometimes, and it takes time and it takes action. So practical manifesting is about taking the action to get you there, which is about building income streams, building reputations, building businesses, building systems. And once I'd done that and I got that far, my late husband said to me, well, you know what, Mandy, stop talking about it and just do it. Go for your creative business. You've done it with the other businesses. Why wouldn't you be successful? You're an absolutely amazing artist. So I said, you're right. I don't know what's holding me back. And I put a castle on my vision board at that point and said, right, I'm going to go big here. I want my creative business, and I want a Scottish castle where I can bring women from around the world to come and do creative retreats with me and step into the power that I avoided stepping into for decades. So that went on my vision board in 2018. We had bought our dream house in 2019, and I launched my creative business on Boxing Day 2019. So I'd kind of then opened the floodgates to this vision, this manifestation of this castle, of this was the next step for me. I was going to go big or go home, basically. I'd had a house on there and we made it happen, so I could put a castle on there and make it happen. And then obviously we went into 2020, didn't we? And what happened in 2020? The world changed. Boy. Yeah, in a big way, didn't it? For so many people. In fact, for me as well, because COVID hit in the March, my business was going really well. It was already hitting, like, we were on track for 6 figures. I'd signed lots of clients. It was doing really well. I'd built this amazing platform. I was doing my art. I'd written a book. I'd done all the creative things that I'd avoided doing, and it was working for me. And then in April 2020, my husband died. And that was devastating. But one of the things he taught me was that I did have the power. I could do it. I'd already done it, and I could do it again. And he had faith in me. So after he died, me and the kids did have, and they're grown-up kids by then. My kids at that point were 20 and 16. And I said, do you know what? Life's too damn short. I've just lost the person I love the most. And in March 2021, I thought, if I want a Scottish castle, perhaps I should move to Scotland and feel it. And feel the goal more deeply and put myself in the environment I want to be in. So I put the dream home on the market and sold it the same afternoon. I put it on the market in the morning and it sold the same afternoon for the asking price that I wanted for it from a cash buyer who had no chain behind them. It was like the universe just said, right, you've made the decision. There you go.
Pretty magical. Here you go.
It was and like, oh my goodness, now I need to find somewhere to live in Scotland. And the plan was, let's just buy a little house somewhere and I'll build the wealth to buy the castle. That was the plan. So I was viewing houses with my son in Scotland and then with my sister in Scotland. And the one that I'm in, my mini castle, I call it, came up. And I didn't like the look of it initially. And I don't know what it was about it, but I went to see it anyway. And I walked in the door and it was like a miniature version of the castle on my vision board, not just in one way, in every way. The sweeping staircase, but on a miniature version, the same red sandstone at the front, the same walled garden, the exact same style of dining room with a big table in it, everything. I've got comparison photos of the two, and it's like the universe said, that castle's £3 million and it's a bit out of your price bracket and it might take you 10 years to get here. But here's one for now. And I was like,
That's
sometimes
beautiful.
you've got to notice what's put in front of you when you're manifesting. So I bought it. I put a cheeky offer in and I bought it. I've renovated it. And I'm now doing that dream thing of running creative retreats for women from all around the world on a smaller scale than I'd initially imagined. So that 10-year plan took me 18 months to actually manifest, and I'm here doing it now. And I haven't stopped because there's a salon attached to this building that wasn't part of the building, and I've just got the funding from the bank to buy it, and I'm now going to create a bistro and art gallery as well as this. So not only can they come here for retreats, they'll also be able to eat here, and there'll be an art gallery next door where I can show people's work. So the manifestation of my dreams has just gone up a level. Every single time I've got there, there's been something more. And I've just had the best financial month that I've had in my entire career in January 2023, when nobody's got any money. I've just had a massive month. I've just had a phone call.
Beautiful. And some people would say that's crazy because, like, when people don't have money, wouldn't art be the first thing and their creativity be the first thing to go? And it's not necessarily. So I love that you're breaking all of these myths or, these biases that we have in our head, because that's what we've always been told. I've already heard that you don't have to be a starving artist, that you have learned that you can make money off of a creative business and that you can do well. You can even buy yourself a mini castle. I mean, that's pretty impressive, right? So you really kind of flipped that switch. And there's so much I could dive into this story, but I love this. Like, at first you just had to start believing, and it didn't, like you said, it didn't start with a castle. It started with this house. We just want a house, right? This house. We're not looking for a castle in Scotland, just a house that isn't council living, right? Yeah. And you can actually own it on your own and everything. And then, like, once we crack that open and go, wow, that's actually possible, then you could start going a little deeper and deeper and go, well, if I can buy this exact house that my kids drew, then I can dream even bigger. And you started, cracking that belief a little bit more and a little bit more until you're like, no, this is actually possible. And it's actually possible now. And that is something that I don't think people understand, that, like, it's flipping that perspective that makes a huge shift, right? It's much different than writing an affirmation on, like you said, in the back of the loo, it says, oh, I'm successful, or I have a castle, or whatever. You actually had to align with that energy. You had to say, okay, this is actually something I'm bringing into my body. And when we bring it into our body, you could find, okay, what are the actions? Well, the actions are, if I want a castle in Scotland, it'd probably be helpful if I was in Scotland. Right? So you took, and it seems like all these like little things, but these are the ways that we actually practically manifest, is by making all of these little tiny choices, right? And they just add up until I always look at it as if like our goals are like the general direction that we're going in, right? We might come off the path or find a different castle on a different road or whatever, but they are giving us that general direction to go into. And we have these intentions that go with them. And the intention is, this is, what I want. And we align with, in my world, we align with the feeling that comes with that. Yeah. So how would I feel if I owned a castle? Well, I might feel free. I mean, I don't know. You tell me. What does it feel like for you? Or what did it feel like? Did you imagine it would feel like for you to have a castle?
Well, I really stepped into that, imagining how it would feel. Mm-hmm. And I actually worked with an intuitive coach who really pushed my subconscious to take me to that castle and feel every room of it, feel the banisters, feel the luxury, feel what it was like to step outside the big door, to feel it at a very deep level. And it was that feeling at that deep level that allowed me to imagine already having it. It was already mine. It already existed somewhere in the universe for me to just claim. And it was that connection of feeling it and believing it that was made the route to manifesting it much easier, really, I think. Yeah. And being prepared to take the risk.
And it wasn't the first time.
No.
Like, it's not like you imagined it once and you were like, okay, now universe, just bring it. No. It was something you had to focus on almost every day, right? Like, here's my vision board. This is the intention that I have here, is I'm going towards this direction. And you had to repeat that over and over again. There wasn't one action. There wasn't one affirmation. It was like, what I'm hearing is you actually brought it into your body and you kept it there by focusing on it each day. Because I think this is the big difference for me, is that some people do all of their manifesting with just their brain. Like, I'm just going to say I want a house and a car, or, a happy family, or whatever it is. And poof, the universe is just going to give it to me. Yeah. But the universe, I think, is asking us to be like, are you sure you're ready? Like, if you're ready to be this person, or in this person's shoes, or, in this job, or having this, then you have to show me that this is you're actually in alignment with it. And I think that that's what was really awesome. And there was another point that I was going to make, and now, wow, I was just so taken by that. And what I love about the rock bottom is, wouldn't we love it if we didn't have to hit rock bottom to actually just flip this perspective, right? That would be really great. And some people can. Yeah. And some people can, right?
Yeah. Some people can be lucky and not have, but actually, I learned more at that place about myself and about my strength and about my resilience and about who I wanted to be for my children and how I wanted to show up and what I wanted to teach them, that they didn't ever have to worry about being at rock bottom, because it wasn't that bad and you can get back from there. And it's about living. Yeah. When I bought the dream home, I went and visited the show house every weekend with a mood board and imagined living in it and had it decorated before I move in. So when I had the castle on the vision board, I walk in my studio every morning and touch my vision board and feel it and connect with where I'm going next. I have a huge 4-foot mind map on my wall where everything, my words for this year are synergy and connection, because everything is connected. And the feelings are as connected as the destination and the journey that we're on, as far as I'm concerned. And that's how I manifest. It's been a phenomenal start to the year. Not only I've had the best launch ever, I've had a phone call from a British national TV station to ask me if I want to go on a program. It's called Four in a Bed. And that's aired at primetime TV 4 days of the week, where you go and visit 3 other people's hotels and B&Bs and they visit yours, and it's a competition. They phoned me out of the blue.
Oh yeah, I think it's
I don't think you've got it in the US as well. But I didn't apply to go on that. It just happened. And it happened this week. Oh, and then today I've just won an award at booking.com for one of the top B&Bs and retreats for a 9.8 out of 10 score from my guests. And I think how you do anything is how you do everything. And I think if you're that connected and aligned with your journey, and you're going to set standards, and you're going to have these big visions of not only where you want to go, but the quality of what you want to get when you get there, then I think that flows through your life in everything that you touch. And, you know, obviously things are coming my way in 2023.
Hi, I'm Christina, and I am your host of this series, and I wanted to offer you one little thing. The way that my clients find their midlife magic and mojo is by becoming intentionally aligned. You may not know what that means right now, but basically we find out what we truly, truly want underneath that vision board, and then we align our life, our choices, actions, everything with our intentions. Now you're wondering how that works? I can teach you more, but first you're going to need 3 unique perspectives in order to move forward. And I have put all 3 of those perspectives in a 3-video series called the Intentionally Aligned Foundation Series. And I want you to go grab it now, because it is going to shift the way that you look at things. And that is part of the magic in midlife, is that we get to choose new ways. That series is listed below in the description, or you can go to christina-smith.com/IA series. I hope that you enjoy these 3. There's going to be questions and even some optional other materials that you can dive a little deeper into how we become intentionally aligned. It's all free, so go check it out. It's just more perspectives for you to create that midlife mojo. Well, it sounds like you're really aligned with this synergy and connection. And so that's the vibration that you're putting out. And so the universe is saying, yes, you're ready for all of these awesome things to happen now. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with rock bottom either. I think it's actually a place to be celebrated. I would love it if I didn't have to go there. Yeah. And like you, I have learned in the worst parts of my life is really when I learn the most. When we're in joy or we're happy, we're not really growing. We're enjoying our success. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think in the most part, we do crave growth still. As long as we're living, we do crave growth. And in order to grow, sometimes that's really uncomfortable. And the great thing about rock bottom is, for me, is I get so uncomfortable that I'm like, well, nothing can be worse than this. You know, like any change is better than what's going on right now. So I can't F it up in any way, right? It's just going to be fine.
And I think it also takes away your fear. If I lost everything tomorrow, even though I've just said I'm having a phenomenal January, everything's going my way, everything's right, that could change tomorrow. That changed for me the day that my husband died again. And I had to be, but I recovered from that quicker than I had done the first time I'd been to rock bottom. So when I hit it again with grief, the recovery time was quicker. I could see that there was still a silver lining ahead of me. And I knew that rock bottom would only last as long as it lasted. And it would only last as long as I wasn't taking action. So if I lost everything again tomorrow, I'd know that there was a way back.
Yes. And it's that self-trust that I think that is one of the most beautiful gifts to me out of the practical manifestation, is like, no matter what happens, I can trust that I'm going to know what to do in the moment. Yeah. That I'm going to be guided by these intentions, this feeling that I have, right? Taking this feeling into my body every day. That as long as I stay aligned with that, it doesn't mean that problems don't happen. It just means that at least I don't get upset by every bump in the road anymore. I'm like, yeah, that's the stuff that happens. And but how my words are sacred body and intentional connection this year. And it's like, okay, so how can I treat my body like it's sacred? And how can I connect intentionally in a good way? And whether that's to myself, whether that's to the universe or to other people, like, where is the connection that I need to be in alignment with right now? So these words are like, I use them as like a vehicle. This is the vehicle we're using to get to the thing. And the great thing about that is that it means that we're not waiting either. Like, practical manifestation requires action, like you said. So we're not just sitting here going, okay, well, when's my castle coming? When's a person knocking on the door with a title to a castle and like gonna, knock down my door? Here you go. It's not like that. So action is actually helpful in manifestation, not just to move forward, but it also gives you something to do that's in alignment with where you say you're going to go.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just like a parent who's not going to give you the keys to their car until they know that you are going to drive safely, right? That you're insured, that all of the things that they have required, maybe they require you to get a job so that you can pay for your petrol and whatever. And so all of these things, that's the universe saying, okay, well, when you line your butt up, when you are really serious about this and you show me that you're putting some effort in, then we can reward you. And it doesn't mean that you're going to get your dream castle tomorrow. You might have to start with a mini version, and that is okay. A mini castle is still better than no castle.
Exactly that. You take what's given to you in the moment and you run with it until you're ready for the next thing.
Awesome. Awesome. Are there any tips that you would offer, or what is something that maybe you would have told yourself in 2008, right before maybe, or right when you were hitting your rock bottom, 2008, 2009?
I suppose I would have liked to have known. I would say to myself, look, the pain is going to stop soon, and, don't wallow in it. Move forward and take baby steps. And, I think probably we do feel sorry for ourselves for a while, and that stops us being able to manifest. We're not in the right alignment then. So now I know that. Back then, I didn't know that the pain would stop soon, that it would get easier every day. And I would also say, believe you can, because you absolutely can do anything. I know people say it's a very easy thing to say, but until you've done it a few times, it's difficult to believe.
Yes, because you don't realize that all those things that you think you can't do are just hard things. They're just hard things. I've been really challenging myself to do hard things this year, reaching out and trying to connect with people that are much bigger than me. That's something that's out of my comfort zone. But just because we're manifesting something, and I think that this is, the big falsehood that people have, like, it's just simple. It's just easy. Sometimes the actions aren't easy, and we still have to be like, okay, this is going to be a hard thing. And how can I use my intentions, or how can I use that feeling of focus on what it is that I want in order to fuel me through, or at least get me excited in some way. And so I feel like I can at least attempt it. Right. It's just really uncomfortable. And I think that sometimes we think it's unsafe. It feels unsafe when we're uncomfortable because our brain, it just junks everything in together. And so I really think that if we can start asking ourselves the question, is this unsafe or is this uncomfortable? Discomfort's going to happen. The great thing about discomfort is that it becomes like a little indicator that we're growing, right? That's how I always think, like, oh, this is a growing moment, right? The hard things are the growing moments. And so I love this whole story because we're all talking about rock bottom, and we're like honoring this rock bottom position. So if you're listening to this and you are in a position of going, I don't think it's possible, I'm at this rock bottom place. And when we're there, I know for myself, Mandy just said, and for myself as well, I can easily go into, right, I can't change anything. I can feel powerless. I can feel like I don't have any choice in the situation. But there's always choice. Yep. And sometimes that really starts with dreaming. Mandy had a dream, right? She had to start dreaming and go, what could be better than this? A house. You know, her kids helped her. Her kids were like, we want a house like that. And she was like, all right, well, let's dream about this. Let's go home and draw the pictures and see what it looks like so that we can. And it really happened. This is a real story. Mandy's not making this up. So I want you to hear that if you're at rock bottom, there is a place that's better, and it's going to get better. And it's so funny that you were saying that you would say to yourself, it gets better. I just said that on another podcast the other day. Like, what would you tell your 12-year-old self? It gets so much better.
It's just that, isn't it? That only comes with time. And I think, you know, it's that little belief. It doesn't have to get immediately lots better. Just a little bit better is good enough.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, in the moment. And I think when you realize that, you can celebrate small wins. And right. Small wins can be really small and still really successful and feel amazing once you accept that that's okay.
Yes. Like I said, it's just cracking it open just a little bit each time, going, okay, let me dream bigger now. Let me dream bigger. Oh, I see. I got that little thing that I wanted. Let me see if I can dream bigger now, because I think that that's what it's about. And it is a patience game. Like, just because we ask the universe, it's not going to happen tomorrow. And it does happen. I feel like I manifested my husband because one night I wrote a list of non-negotiables for a relationship. And I was like, this is what I want. And this is absolutely what I don't want. Mm-hmm. And I forgot about the list. But like, I think it was a year later, I was moving in with my husband, and he checked every box, and I was like, see, I'm not making this up. Like, you can actually manifest the perfect man. Because I know all of my friends were like, you're crazy. You're never going to get a man that fits all those things. And I was like, oh, but if I don't, I'm preparing the universe to know that I'm going to be alone then. And that'll be okay too, because it's better to be alone than be with the wrong person. Anyway, that was a different manifesting story I had. But it can work. Awesome. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the retreats that you do in this mini castle in Scotland. It sounds lovely.
So I run retreats for 4 days and 7 days for women. And I bring 3 women at a time here. Or you can come with a friend, and I can take 6 women. The rooms, can sleep enough people. So I've got 3 rooms, and they are themed on artists. So I have a Van Gogh room, a Picasso room, and a Monet room, and they are decorated in the artist's style and colours and personalities, down to finite detail. So they get to stay in the room that has the whole vibe of the artist. And then during their retreat, we paint together, we create together, we go out into the beautiful Scottish countryside, and we sketch and we draw, and I get them to do a project while they're here. And they're removed from the reality of life into a place of creation and calm, and we meditate together. And it's just, the ladies that have been here have described it as magical and said that they felt like a teenager again. Yeah. And that's what I wanted to create. Right from that initial, I'm going to put a castle on my vision board. It wasn't about the castle. It was about the feeling of bringing people to Scotland to feel like they're in a grand place and to escape from life for a week or 4 days and do something that they wouldn't normally do. Phones down, laptops off, no tech, just paintbrushes and paint or clay or crafting materials. And let's create what you want your life to feel like and be like. So they're transformational retreats. It's a wonderful, I love it. I love watching them relax. The last one I did, one of the ladies arrived and she was beautifully dressed, nails done, hair perfect, makeup on. Day 2, she was in a pair of my cut-off joggers, barefoot, painting in the studio, covered in paint, and she felt more free than she had in years, and that said it all for me. So
yes, because I don't think that we give
the space.
I was just going to say it just. Yeah, beautiful. I mean, it does sound magical, like just to have a few days just to create, not have your normal life where you have to fit it in here and there. especially with some arts. Like I love to do pour painting, and that takes up space and setup and everything. And so it's nice to be able to go away and have a space that's created just for that. Lovely.
Mm-hmm.
And you have a special gift for our listeners today too. You have something special going on in April.
I do. I run my free 5-day challenge every quarter, so 4 times a year. And the next one is April. And in that free 5-day challenge, I literally do challenge you to come along, spend 5 days with me, do some activities. And actually, again, it's one of those transformational experiences. It is a challenge, but it's going to really make you think about your creative business, where you are now, where you want to be. So it's an amazing week filled with people, creatives just like you, who want the same things of you. It's a fantastic place to build your network, learn lots of new things. And I launch my creative mastermind program in the middle of it. But there's no salesy stuff goes on. This is a manifesting place. If the right people want to join, they join, and I accept that. So there's no pressure. It's just come along and learn and enjoy.
Right. It's really out of the energy of wanting to share it and getting people to crack that belief system open a little bit, that they actually can make some funds out of their creativity and their art, which I think there's so many people that could, and just, they have a proper job, as you say. A proper job, because they've always thought that's the only thing that they could do. Yeah.
And that's at the end of the week, I have everybody convinced that it is a proper job being an artist. It is a proper job being an author. It is a proper job being a sculptor. Whatever it is you do, you can actually make money from it. And that's the purpose of the week. So I run that 4 times a year. It's completely free. And the more women that come, the happier I am, because I can help more women.
Lovely. It sounds like a great challenge. I might even try that challenge. I don't have specific art that I want to monetize, but I think just the creativity and the way of thinking about it would be something to really expand my mind and grow a little bit. Well, thank you, Mandy, so much for sharing your really inspirational story. I hope that some of us get to go see your mini castle in Scotland. And if anybody's been there, please send me pictures. I want to see your visit. But thank you so much for joining us today and sharing this with us.
Thank you for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure. I love talking about this.
Yeah. Thank you, podcasters, for tuning in. And I hope that this is inspiring you to go off and dream, really tune into what feels right for you to dream about and start that vision board just like Mandy did. Even if it's with a hand-drawn, house or whatever, you can start it with anything, just thoughts, words, whatever. Just go start dreaming. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hey, one more thing. When we are all more confident and full of self-love, we can act more intentionally and mindfully. What would a world like that look like? I want to know. One way that you can help me with this vision is to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast wherever you listen to it. It helps more than you know, and it's just a few clicks to help me create a more beautiful world. And as always, remember to be gentle with your humanness.